Okay, thank you, Ashlyn. Thank you for a wonderful presentation from Peter from Hong Kong Science Park. My name is Daniel. Just waiting for the PowerPoint to come up. In fact, today's agenda is about mobile electronics, and the whole last week, actually, we had a very exciting event in Wan Chai as well. It's also about mobile electronics, about smart IoT, etc. Excuse me. Okay, so my name is Daniel. I work for a company which is Remotech. Remotech is a 25-year-old company, and we have been in business in the smart controllers remote business for 25 years in Hong Kong. I also represent as a volunteer in a couple of organizations, including recently Smart City Consortium and also Hong Kong Electronics and Technologies Association. I myself is also investigating and researching about data relating to smart city. So my agenda today is about an ecosystem, about API. Now, I've been in this industry for about 25 years. I initially started off as a programmer, and I've seen a lot of changes, like most of you. Now, for me to deliver this topic, I would like to invite you to perhaps help me to answer a few questions. So, would you like to raise your hands from the floor? And can I ask from the floor, how many of you actually own Tesla? Well, any EV, electric vehicles? No? Okay. All right. Good. Anyone own one of these VHS video recorder? You must have. Come on. You're just shy, right? Okay. We need warming up, right? So, okay, you own one of these. Now, can you tell me, raise your hand if you own one of these? Oh, you're the lucky one that owns quite a few of these technology, right? So we talk about these electronics here, right? Some are very isolated, independent, not connected, right? And they build out the product based on specific technology, right? Tesla built out the product, but it's not the first product that is being mass-produced. General Motors have actually mass-produced an electric vehicle many years ago, but they've only shipped 11,077 units. So it's called EV1, so to speak. So 1996. Now, the difference between the previous cycle or previous history of products development and today is about ecosystem, okay? About connectivity, about ecosystem, how can you actually enable API for other innovations to come on? So if you think about how this product, which is my era, anyone own this? No? It came way too early, way too early. It has all the features. Like today, what was it? The big brand that had caught on fire, whatever product that is, right? Banned from aircrafts. It has exactly the same form factor. Big size, palm size, right? So if you think about it, it's all about connectivity, ecosystem. And this is what my notion is. In the old days, we don't need it. Today, if you need to be relevant, your business, you really ought to think about all these manufacturers here. I'm being advocate here. I know I'm going to be, I think a lot of people will hate me after this. Because I believe a lot of the vendors, manufacturers, are building out their products only just to create that little market for one time only. They're not going to be relevant in the next cycle because it's never connected. They don't have open API. They're not part of an ecosystem. Whereas, if you see the difference, right? Today, all these connectivity, IoT products today, I believe they really have to think ahead and try to solve this problem from a big picture perspective. Now, I was sitting in a conference call last night, which is part of a Bluetooth SIG. Bluetooth, obviously, a lot of these devices today is Bluetooth enabled. Bluetooth SIG group on a, they have different working group where there are subject matter experts, there are adopter members, there are actually contributor members, there are subject matter experts that discuss about how to formulate standards. Now, what I see a lot of companies here exhibiting, they're mostly adopters of technology. They didn't try to influence a technology, okay? But we can, because the center of competence is right here. We can. So whether you're from, say, sir, where are you from? Yeah. I'm sorry? From India, sir. Thank you for coming to Hong Kong, okay? And sir, where are you coming from? Europe, okay? So all these buyers, subject matter experts come to Hong Kong because we happen to be somewhere close to the factory, right? But the fact is, there's still very little influence from the Orient, in general. I'm Orient, I can speak, right? That help shape the standard. If we can help shape the standard, collective power, right? We can have better purchasing power, better influence over what is to come, and be relevant. So if you think about how Android had developed, the original, sorry, I forgot the guy who sold the concept to the president of, sold the concept to Eric Schmidt. The guy used to found a product which is called HipTop. HipTop is actually marketed in Canada and US as a phone with almost just like a QWERTY keyboard. And I was in Canada at that time. It was actually marketed by Fido. And he experimented with that one product, OEM to buy Sharp, and then sold in US. I recall there is in celebrities, web show and all this, they'll flip it out, right? And you'll see it, it's like product placement. It's very cool and hip in the youngster. And it's all about messaging. It's all about and building ecosystem. That's when this guy was smart enough to approach Eric Schmidt and say, look, I can build an ecosystem for you. I built hardware, I've proven it, it's got adoption, maybe not a lot, it's 1 million, 2 million in the US maybe. But that's when it hits him that maybe I should just sell my talent, build out this ecosystem. Go search it out. It's called HipTop. It's a Sharp screen. Yeah, those of you from North America will know about it. It's an edge device. It's not even 3G at that point. Okay, so this is the story of Android. All right, if you kind of believe the ecosystem model, then think about the games, right? Obviously, Apple has actually done everything right to build out the iTunes, the games, the device, the end device. They have a lot of IPs. They have a lot of deep pocket to be sued, even if they have infringement in IPs. But if you think about it, I believe that in order for the entire ecosystem to win, is to really move from closed system all the way to the right-hand side, where we have an open system in IoT. Now, I speak because I do a lot of research myself. I'm in the industry. I do apply research. And I came from a business that used to do this, which is not connected, still has volumes. Now, can I ask from the floor, how many of you actually have have a remote control at home? So, okay, thank you. So how many have Tesla again? Okay, thank you. I think I got a question. So what I'm trying to say, my notion is, I think it's easier to create impact, yeah? And this is why connectivity becomes so important. And our industry is also being affected as well. I have big customers, small customers, OEM customers, and IoT customers. So we constantly analyze and do research on consumer research on what's the next thing. What does my buyers, my customers wants, and so if you look at it, right, there are a lot of things even in my industry are going through changes. People talk about using mouses and devices where we call it HID, human interaction device, right? At the end of the day, all these fancy gadgets, you have a keyboard. There's actually one thing that actually came up recently. It's all data driven, okay? It's actually voice. All I need is this voice, and have the cloud interpret everything for me, and come back with a command, and then execute it for me, right? And that can be done already. You don't agree? Yeah. Yeah. So what happened is, yes, my mom, which is 80-year-old, still looks for the remote, and because she's so accustomed to the button, right? I can't totally, negate that and say, turn a blind eye. I'm not producing products for that. That's still our core product. But then there's something coming up along the way. So we get demands and calls from requests, RFPs and all this, or even wild ideas to co-develop some IPs. It's related to voice. So this is why I think this is just to share with you that there are Kickstarter programs that runs. There's so many Kickstarter programs and Indiegogo programs right now that talks about smart remotes. They are all admirable projects. However, you have to be careful about the execution. Okay, so there are QWERTY keyboards. There are XY coordinate, touchpad, accelerometer, gyroscope, and if one of the analysis from our perspective is still very true is infrared code is still in high demand because the consumer electronics, your air conditioner at home, is still running on infrared. So this is why we have still demand. This is actually our customers. Okay, there are still a very high demand of using infrared codes, yeah, to control some end devices. Meaning, I have to make it available to the world to connect through apps, through APIs, through cloud services, and all that, right? So I, myself, have to start transforming the company and say, look, I cannot no longer afford to just create products like these ones, which is, all the IR codes, everything is burned into the EEPROM. I have to do something much better and bring it to the cloud, bring a solution to my customers. So this is my own life case of how to bring API in and to build an ecosystem. Now, I just want to share with you some data. This is actually from another survey from Hong Kong TDC that from last year, this 68% of the respondent, or 433 respondents, actually says that they would buy and support or consider smart energy related devices. Okay, 68%. And within all the respondents, they believe that these are the sales growth. And of course, home appliance is high there. Robotics, it could be very niche in industrials, gaming. We all see growth. But mobile device accessories and smart home are still high on the top. So this is from last year. So what happened is, in my journey as a company senior leader, we look for opportunity where I can basically revamp the company from this. Yeah. Okay. So what is interesting is about standard ecosystem is about standards. Do you guys remember the name VHS? This is a standard, right? What about universal plug and play? It is a standard. What it takes as a standard forward is the ability for innovative manufacturer, vendor, to actually come up with products and applications. It could be very, very creative, This is why with UPnP, there's a peripheral business. Until today, it's still UPnP. So one of my partners is actually involved in UPnP back when he was in chipset companies in US. So we understand all this very well. So the standard allowed content to be put on top, and then there will be chipset and then there'll be application. In this case, this will be a video machine, and then you have an industry form, right? To put in another analogy, our company, what we did was, because we're in infrared remote control, we've been doing it for 25 years, we have worldwide customer base, there were never a standard, never in IR code. We made a standard, we publish it, we basically work with chipset companies as a de facto standard, as a reference design. That became adopted by many chipset companies, a de facto standard. But what it allowed us is, now with the API, with the standard, a lot of applications can be developed. I'm just naming one of them, which happens to be my own invention. So it's called SmartAirCon. And I've actually proposed the SmartAirCon to become one of the smart city project in Hong Kong as a showcase. So the standard has been adopted in many ways. We call it UIRD. So it's a way of encoding the infrared code. So every company has their own interpretation. So basically, you still have to have a universal way to store it. So we store it in a universal way, and then when it comes out, it could be any other protocol, that the original manufacturer, the end device uses. Could be RC5, could be any others. Okay, so we've been adopted by, I noticed Green Peak, which is owned by Kufo now, we'll be speaking. It has been adopted by Zigbee RF4C RC 2.0 as a standard format. And we're proud in that way, because then it gets adopted by real applications. And what we did was to actually, with a very fundamental knowledge and know-how of all this IR code data, and we've been constantly maintaining a very big database. It's a data science project. It's the ontology of the data is actually quite complicated. All the brands, the model, the OEM labels, and the data. And then different brands, sometimes they have old and new models. They're not always the same. So we built out a cloud-based code library. And that allows what we call evergreen. That means if my customers, a vendor that had an innovation for smart home, and they need to control all the IR codes machine in Europe, whether it's consumer electronics or air conditioners, they can rely on my services. And they don't have to worry about maintaining them, because I do that job and they pay us license fee. So that model has helped us from a 25-year-old company, traditional OEM, ODM, to transform into an IP-based company. So this is just an example. And we partner with Microsoft Azure to deliver worldwide access, very reliable. We became a partner with Microsoft as well. And not only that, Peter from a Hong Kong Science Park have just disclosed or actually present their Open Data Studio project. We also took a subset of those IR data as a test data to become part of their partner program to supply to all the innovators out there. So you can actually apply an API account through them and then develop your applications. So through Open API. So hopefully we'll partner with Ingdan, which is one of the bigger company in, was part of Code Go By, which is for components and IoT products. So I just want to show you the growth curve of apps and also versus Bluetooth device. And this is very relevant to my topic about the Orient, a lot of the factories, solution house, product developers. We can collaborate together to become part of a bigger ecosystem and influence the way that Bluetooth or these technology are being adopted right now. For example, at the last night conference call, I was the only guy from Asia. Okay, there are other people from Europe. There will be other people from mostly from US actually in discussion about Bluetooth. So on the left here, you see the number of apps growing, the long tail. You also see the number of Bluetooth devices growing, and that's significant. What it tells you a story that it's a proven market. Don't be deceived about pictures and all that. What it tells you is that the curve is still growing, and that the opportunity for us to collaborate and to build a bigger ecosystem is even more. Otherwise, it would be very fragmented. So I want to share with you, and I talked about Bluetooth SIG group. Bluetooth, everybody knows about 4.0, 5.0 coming up and all that, but how many of you are actually participating and trying to influence them, right? This is my critical question. So last night, the talk was about dishwasher, washer, dryer, okay? So they talk about use cases that what if an appliance needs more than just a Bluetooth module in there. Where's the use case? Does this appliance company come up with another app? Or is it part of an ecosystem? Right? This is the value that I'm talking about. So this is just snapshots of the some of those. And I'm sure many more will be coming on. It's more than coffee machine, more than cooktop, more than air conditioners. There's a lot more opportunity for appliance. So in my belief, and right now I'm lobbying and working with some of the appliance manufacturers in Hong Kong, whether they're big manufacturers. Some of them are listed companies. Some of them, because of my associations with, industry associations. Yeah, I'm trying to talk to them, right? So back to one of the Bluetooth products that I have invented. So I've write out a pattern on this device here, and I'll explain why is it novel. So as a company that try to sustain ourselves, we believe that we need to build an ecosystem. So our core competence is IR code. We've supported many live cases of our customers developing IoT product. However, not all of the use cases are well defined, and we believe that there are room for improvement. So what we did was I and my team have went out to try to really qualitatively research on what is the best use case, right? And there we are. We found out that this is the model. It's not just an app. Everybody out there talks about using an app. I can't ask my mom to turn on the aircon and then try to flick through a few screens and try to find that icon, right? I can't do that. I have to give him or give her a button. It's very simple as that. This would be placed inside the room with a button. But yet, it could be centrally connected, programmed, smartly controlled by a computer, right? Now, the novelty of my pattern, well, it's actually patent pending, is about this, is the fact that I am reusing an old smartphone. I'm not recreating a product completely. I'm advocating the fact that you should have a smartphone somewhere. Now, 60% in US, 60% of the smartphone user will have a second smartphone at home. In Germany, it's 48, and in Australia, it's 56, I think. So the value that we offer is to build out a series of smart devices for home energy management. Now, we as a company have been shipping already C-Wave products, so we're going to port it to Bluetooth. That's our strategy. We know that it's coming, and we know we have the capability. So we are working with, and right now, because of my telecom background, I work with telecom carriers, okay? And telecom carriers will be my bread and butter, and we will have a business model to work with them. Now, at the end of the day, it's not about a single device, yeah? It's about building an ecosystem that allows, yeah, other appliances to actually come to me and join this ecosystem. After all, my applications would have a scheduler, will have a remote control on-off switch. In the app, it will be, it's already there, right? All they need to do is join an ecosystem, and we further build that ecosystem along. Now, so it's all about API and SDK at that point, right? You've all heard about API and SDK now, right? But if you are still not convinced, this is actually some of the publicity that I received. I spoke at Shanghai GSM Mobile Congress as well, and we've won a few awards. Now, if you don't believe in some of what I said, then I shall paraphrase here. It's the fact that it's an overall ecosystem. If you try to build it alone independently, you have a lot of shortcomings. You have an uphill battle. So it's much better for vendors and companies to come up together. Let's define a standard, influence the standard that is in our favor, and then work from there onwards. So what just now that paragraph basically explained is that, through alliance, and there are historically many companies that does that. In the airline industry, you have Star Alliance, One World. They band up together. They have infrastructure that they built out together. They invested, but then they will benefit from the network economy. Okay, and you have shorter product life cycle, of course. So this is actually one of the product that we have developed. One of our customers have developed. It's in Germany. It's called Tado. Tado is actually a smart AC product, and in Hong Kong, we actually distribute it in Hong Kong. And as an independent product, Tado will face the challenge. That is what the message I'm trying to create. And same as this, these products independently will have a challenge. What I want to show is a series of products that have especially in the wearable market, because today we have a lot of mobile electronics, and the buyers coming in. I want to show this example, that a lot of this opportunity comes from because a company is willing to invest in building out an ecosystem. Does everybody use WeChat here? I use WeChat, right? Okay, it's the network economy comes from, peer pressure, your other party, right, using it. So this is how, even for hardware electronic companies, they should be able to benefit from an existing ecosystem like that, or to come together to make one. So we will see a lot more of these products coming out, and they are still, by and large, independent. And this is the problem. So all these companies that I'm showing right now, Jawbone, they all have open API. Developer, Google Fit, Sony, Polar, Validate, Runkeeper, Human API. Now this is just a list of it, right? So when it comes to what kind of API they open, this is actually from my engineer. You can tell that for them to survive, they have to open up. So if any of these companies, they don't have this roadmap, then I think it's not a sustainable picture here. So Netflix is another case of success I want to share with you. Netflix intentionally built out this ecosystem. So they want to make sure that every one of the consumer device will have their app or use the API to build an interface. That's how they grow phenomenally for the last 10 years. Of course, they have this displaced Blockbuster along the way. And then we have Uber. Uber is not available in China anymore, so this picture is probably irrelevant. But nonetheless, all around the world, they open up their API so that people from F&B industry or from other industry can actually create some innovations. Okay, so it could be an event company or an F&B restaurant. So we expect the API industry to even grow further. This is just the tip of the iceberg here, right? This is statistically correct from programmable web. In the old days, this is exactly what, the Nokia phone. Yeah, it's still okay back here. You know, with the QWERTY here. I mean, look at how BlackBerry. You know, BlackBerry was still very influential back then. You know, the stock price is still okay. They're becoming so irrelevant, right? More examples. Salesforce, 50% of the revenue actually comes from API, from down the line, the value chain. Expedia, 90% of their business come from other people through API. And to sum up of my today's presentation is, I believe Asia is the best place right now, whether you're from India, from Singapore, or from Philippines. Is if we can band up together, somehow collaborate, yeah, we could form our own ecosystem, and then we have this strategic pricing of factories all around Asia, yeah. Then we can actually make ourselves really sustainable and relevant. So this is actually from IBM, but so I just want to show you that in order to survive, right, there are many levels of API and co-value creation. This is actually a very good term. I learned of it. I first learned of this co-creation from a book called Blue Ocean Strategy, and it's actually a very good book. So with that, I think I end my presentation of today. I hope I didn't bore you, but I came here with a reason. I want to do some lobbying. I want to introduce my company, but I also want some of the audience to really understand that I represent some associations as well, and I want to see that kind of growth, that influence from Hong Kong to be able to continue to survive, rather than just taking certain designs, certain ideas, and design it for a customer. We could build it even bigger. Okay, with that, I'm happy to pass the mic to Alison.
Ashley.
Ashlyn, thank you, Ashlyn.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Anyone has questions for Daniel? Like anyone? Or you're being shy here? Okay.
Hi. So just curious about kind of you mentioned a lot about the standards. So for the IoT specifically, last I heard it seemed there were quite a few competing standards for integrating a lot of the appliances in your home into certain functionalities. So where do you see this going in terms of the technology, and how we I guess the natural inclination would be to be able to control your home through your mobile phone. So where do you see all of that integrating into one standard, and what standard is that?
Thank you. Sir, what's your name?
Winston.
Winston, thank you. It's a great question. So I want to repeat the question. The question is about there's a lot of competing standards in the smart home, smart living area, right? Namely Z-Wave, Zigbee. You could even have 433, and then there are the legacy IR control of the end devices, end consumer devices, and then of course Bluetooth, right? So that was the question. Where do I see it? Okay, I believe Z-Wave and Zigbee inherently, because they require a gateway, first of all, yeah, and their chipsets are a little bit more expensive. Potentially, it could be an inhibitor for further growth, yeah. And today, all our handphones today doesn't have a Z-Wave chipset, nor a Zigbee chipset, but it has a Bluetooth chipset. This is it's a very encouraging. It's an enabling technology. So to draw a difference, because our handset is a personal device, it has Bluetooth. That means I can connect to whatever Bluetooth device. Whereas if I had a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, I still have to connect to a gateway. That means there's extra authentication and there's extra investment on the part of the for the infrastructure. So I see a parallel of growth of Zigbee Z-Wave in very specific application, but I also even see Bluetooth, especially with the 4.2 and future 5.0 coming up, to surpass it pretty quickly in the next 2-3 years. Yeah. Now, I can't judge right now because it's all about shipments of chipsets and modules, and innovations. But if you look at how Bluetooth BLE is trying to do, it's not trying to repeat, what C-Wave and Zigbee does, because they do mesh. They can do some mesh, right? Very adequately. Bluetooth mesh right now is not standardized. It's only being discussed at this Bluetooth SIG. So don't count on it that they can deliver the same. A reliable solution is still C-Wave and Zigbee for smart home, for mesh environment. If you need to repeat the signals many times, it's still very the best solution right now. Did I answer your question, Winston? Yeah. Any other questions you guys want to ask?
One more? Or they can catch you on the floor? Thank you so much, Daniel.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Before we take our break here, let us hear from Rotan what he has got there about pitch competition.
Thank you very much, Ashley. As most of you may know, we had a pitch competition starting at around 11 o'clock today. We had 12 startups competing, and we have the finalists, which will be presenting tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning or 11. 10:30. 10:30 in the morning. So the finalists are Ripple Buds, Amadas, Soundbrenner, Bagel Labs, AtoCube, and Groking Lab. I'll repeat. Ripple Buds, Amadas, Soundbrenner, Bagel Labs, AtoCube, and Groking Lab. And please meet me in the back over there with Joyce. We'll have a raffle to decide who goes first. And thank you very much for your participation. And we will be doing the same thing. Come back here at 2:55, not 3, 2:55, and we'll continue the program. Thank you very much. Round of applause. You don't have to.